Alright, a bunch of losers, welcome back to another concept video. Today we're doing the highly requested It chapter from Stephen King. I am so excited to do this because I've wanted to do this since I started doing concepts on my channel. So I hope you enjoy. If you do, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to get notified of when I upload a video, hit the bell button and click all notifications. That means you will never ever miss a video. In this video, we're going to be looking at the killer and the survivor for this chapter. We'll look at their cosmetics, the killer power, the teachable perks, and the map. We're going to talk about all that good stuff. But before I get into it, just a quick disclaimer as always. This is just a concept for fun. It's not serious. I'm not pitching it to Dead by Daylight. I'm not starting a petition saying this is the best idea ever. It needs to be in the game. It's just for fun. I really like the character and I like the idea. So I just wanted to kind of give an idea of what it would be like in the game. But let's get back to the video at hand. Let's talk about the survivors, which is obviously going to be the losers. Now, not one of them, not two of them, but every single loser is going to be in my concept. A few people said that it should be everyone, and I 100% agree. It should definitely be every single one, and it should be using the legendary cosmetic system. There was one other idea where it was you have like two main people, so Bill and then maybe Beverly, and then you have cosmetics. But I quite like the idea that they're grouped together as the losers, and then you just choose which character to play as in the game. I do think these would have to be kind of legendary cosmetics as promised though, like different voice lines, animations, characteristics. Everything that they kind of promised that a legendary cosmetic would have to be for this. Otherwise, it would just be pointless. Like, there's no point having them just look different and not behave differently. They're all individual characters in the films. They're all really, unique and really different. So it would be really, it would be a shame if they were all just kind of melded together into one kind of basic skeleton. I'm going to draw attention to the fact I did a poll. It was my bad. I did a poll asking who the main survivor would be. Some of you took that the wrong way. I meant the main as in who would I show on this screen. And actually Mike won, and I was going to put Mike in as the main screen, but I didn't realize the actor that plays Mike is the Old Spice guy, and he's a really beautiful man. He is like he's a really famous male model, and if you Google him, it is so difficult to find a full body picture of him without, with a top on. He is topless in every single photo, at least every high quality photo. So I couldn't find one that would fit into the kind of screen I do. I'm really sorry, guys. I did try, but we got James McAvoy. He came second at Bill Denborough. I mean, he's a beautiful man too, so there we go. We're happy with Bill. It's fine. As always, I'm not really going to go over the backstory in this video. Like, you guys can go and read the novel or look at the miniseries or watch the movies. I do recommend the movies. They're really great. But, it's really simple. They're called the Losers Club. You can kind of get the idea. They're a group of misfits that came together and ended up defeating like a big evil guy. That's basically the gist of it. I've come up with 3 teachable perks, so let's talk through each one in a bit of detail. First perk is called Ward Gazebos. This is something that somebody brought to my attention in the comments on my poll. I forgot that this was in the film, and then I rewatched it. I was like, oh my god, that is classic. I have to put it in the concept. So this idea is kind of like an anti-hex totem. So with a hex totem, the killer has a perk that starts at the game. The survivors can destroy it. I was like, what would the survivor equivalent be? And that would be like a ward, like a protective spell they can activate. And the way this works, similar to a hex totem, it exists in the map, but instead of being able to break it, the survivors can activate it. So that means there's an element of timing. You have to activate it at the right time, because once it's gone, it's gone. And you can also only bring one ward perk into a trial as a whole, as a team. So there would have to be some sort of mechanic where the game says, hey, more than one of you has a ward perk. Let me remove one randomly, or let me choose one randomly for you guys to use. And then in the kind of pre-game chat or in your Survive with Friends, you can discuss tactics about who could use their ward perk. So the idea for this one is kind of like a beefy adrenaline, because obviously you have to find the ward and activate it at the right time. It's a bit more difficult. So there's a bit more reward, but there's a bit more of a kind of drawback to it as well. But with the effect, all injured or dying survivors are healed 1 health state and gain the endurance effect for 20 seconds. It's a massive second chance perk. I'm picturing like end of the game, there are 3 survivors on the floor, you're injured, you're running around trying to find this ward to pull it off, and it's a big play that changes the game. Like, there are probably killer mains crying, shouting at the screen. That's fine. You comment below, you get banned. It's just an idea, and I think it's pretty fun. I think there are a few really good moments. It's kind of like the equivalent of Blood Warden in kind of like, oh my god, no way, they've got that perk kind of thing. That's what I'm kind of visualizing, and obviously it's a really good quote from the movie. So yeah, I'm happy with it. The second teachable perk is called Never Let Them Go. This is based on Stanley's letter to the group after he took his own life, spoiler alert, where he kind of tells them to stick together and never let people go if you find someone worth holding on to. So the idea is you find somebody worth holding on to, basically. It activates for 60 seconds after you perform a safe hook rescue. Then when the rescued survivor is hooked, whilst this perk's active, so if they get tunneled, basically, their struggle phase is replaced with a timer, and they are granted additional opportunities to attempt escape with an 8% chance of success. So they basically get a repeat of their first hook, essentially is what happens, with an increased rate of escape. So I was thinking like this would be quite cool to pair with like Deliverance or like Slippery Meat and one of the luck perks, things to just make it so you jump off the hook easily. Like it would be really cool to see in like some Survive with Friends compositions and stuff. It'd be pretty sick. So it's not really a strong perk or like a meta perk. It would just be quite fun. And I thought it goes with the theme of the losers quite well. Third and final Survivor teachable would be called We're All Losers. And this is just based around the Losers Club sticking together, having an oath and kind of looking out for each other, protecting each other's backs kind of thing. So it kind of rewards taking a protection hit, but in a really situational situation. So taking a protection hit within 60 seconds of being healed by another survivor grants you an 8% haste effect for 10 seconds. You are then automatically healed 1 health state if you are not hit by the killer for 30 seconds after this perk activates. So the way I kind of picture this happening is there's always those situations where there's 2 injured survivors healing each other, right? One person has to do the heal first. And it's happened so many times to me where the killers come just after the other person's been healed, and then they take a protection hit. So it's almost like there was no point doing the heal. So this is like a really situational perk where if you get healed, it encourages you to take that protection hit, but you get rewarded for it if you're able to escape the killer after that, which is what the haste effect's kind of for, and you get the passive heal. It's just like, again, it's all to do with the like camaraderie of the Losers Club and stuff, protecting each other. It's kind of lovey-dovey and kind of lame, but I like it at the same time. It's quite a sweet idea, and it goes well with the chapter, in my opinion. So yeah. All right. I've kept you waiting long enough. Let's move on to the killer. We have got the Shapeshifter. Do you know how hard it is to come up with the name for Pennywise? Because you can't do the clown, because he's not a clown. You can't do the Eater of Worlds, because that's too long. You can't do the Entity, because that's taken. The Cosmic... there's so many stupid names. It's so hard to come up with one for him. If you guys have any really good ideas, let me know down below. But phrase them politely, please, for God's sake. But yeah, I've called him the Shapeshifter, and it does make sense with the power, which I'll explain in a bit. But let's talk about cosmetics. Naturally, you've got his default outfit, which is the most recent Pennywise the Dancing Clown. He looks absolutely terrifying in this. It's such a weird looking outfit. When I first saw the reveal for the character on the trailer, it was like, oh my God, he looks great. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the actor's name, but it's Bill. He is class. I love him. He is a really, really great actor, and he does the character so much justice. It's so good. So good. But yeah, in terms of weapons, it has to be his hand and his claw, really. He does do this weird, like, praying mantis hand thing in the film, but I didn't kind of figure out a way to make that work without making it the main power. So it's just his claws. You know, you could have like a hammer or something. I don't know. But yeah, again, down below, weapon ideas, go for it. In terms of like additional cosmetics, the natural one to go for is Tim Curry's Pennywise. So go for the old clown outfit and stuff. I think that's pretty creepy. And then for the second one, I thought, let's go OG. Let's go one of the inspirations for Pennywise, Ronald McDonald. And this would never happen because McDonald's, I mean, if McDonald's got a cut of the profits, why the hell not? They're all about money. Maybe they want Ronald McDonald in a horror film. I don't know. In a horror game, I mean. I don't know. I thought it was quite funny. And I'd be equal parts, I'd love it, and equal parts be terrified that there was Ronald McDonald chasing me in the game. I'd probably have nightmares, to be honest. It's quite a scary idea. You know the drill with the backstory. Let's not talk about it too much. The one thing I do want to make clear, though, is he is not a clown. Like, I know people commenting on it saying he's a clown. The form of Pennywise is a clown, but it as a whole is like a cosmic entity. So keep that in mind when you're looking through the power and stuff and why I've named it what I have. That's why I've named it Eater of Worlds. You need to, like, the films don't really do it justice about the grandeur and like the size of the power of this creature. Like, it is meant to be like godly, like god level power. I wanted to get that across. So basically the power is called Eater of Worlds, and it's a shape-shifting power. So he can change its form to terrify and gain an advantage over its prey in any situation. And my kind of idea for this, it wasn't initially the idea, but then the more I started to shape it, the more it kind of became that he's got a few different killer powers kind of weakened and put into one. So his power is the fact he can kind of change his power. That's kind of the whole idea behind it, which is kind of different. And I don't know how much it would work, but I think it's quite cool, and it's quite accurate to how the characters should be in a game. Naturally, you enter the trial in the dancing clown form as Pennywise. It's the most popular form. It's its favorite form because it scares children the most, which I agree with. It is terrifying. So the way the kind of transition would work is you press and hold the power button, and then like a heads up display comes up, and you kind of hover your mouse across the different options, and then you let go, and you morph into that option. So you've got 3 additional forms by default. You've got the spider, the mummy, and the werewolf. They're all forms that get taken by it in various iterations of the franchise, in the miniseries, the novel, or the films. It's got a brief cooldown as well, so you can't spam it. You can't just change forms straight away. You've got to wait a little bit before you can change forms again. And yeah, I'd like this kind of killer in the game. A lot of people have said, the devs have said that they will never do a shape-shifting killer, but they've just spoken about shape-shifting into a survivor form. Again, you can't trust a word the devs say. They say they won't do something and they'll do it, so ignore that anyway. But they were purely talking about being able to mimic a survivor when they made that comment about shapeshifting. In terms of shapeshifting into different forms, I don't think that's really off the cards. So it's I don't think it's too far-fetched. As the dancing clown, when you enter the trial, you have the power to place balloons by pressing the active ability button. If a survivor comes within a certain proximity of a balloon, like picture like the hag, maybe a bit of a wider radius than the hag maybe, the balloon bursts and it notifies the shapeshifter and reveals the survivor's aura. My thinking behind this was at the start of the match, you do a little bit of setup, putting these balloons up, and it helps give you information. These balloons persist when you change form. That's an important factor. So when you're in the different forms, you can still get this information from the balloon. So that's kind of an important idea. In terms of other forms, you've got the spider. So the spider is kind of a mobility form. So you get increased movement speed, but because the spider would be quite wide because of the legs and stuff, you wouldn't be able to move around narrow obstacles. It would have like a massive hitbox. So in order to kind of give it more value, I've given it a active ability button of active ability power as well. You press that button and you weave a web on an interactive object. Think about like anything that the plague can infect, the spider can web up, is that kind of idea. And then if you perform an associated action, when you perform an associated action with that object, it is performed slower for a certain duration when the object is webbed. So let's say you web a chest. If you go and try and open a chest, it's slower. It's that kind of vibes. Works on generators, pallets, window vaults, all that kind of stuff. Just a bit of a slowdown. Again, another bit of setup. You've got that mobility there. So I foresee it as being used kind of like a Billy sprint, but without the one hit down. The next form, we've got the mummy. So the mummy has reduced movement speed, but uses its embalming wrap as a ranged basic attack. Holding the basic attack button increases the range of the attack, but also increases its cooldown. I don't know how far I'd make it. Like, in my head, I was thinking Death Slinger, but that's way, way, way too far. But then, no, it's not. It's not really. If you had, like, a ranged attack that was, like, Death Slinger or, like, shorter than Huntress Hatchet, it's not really OP. It's not really that bad. Especially if you're slow. I just thought it would be good to give Pennywise... it. I'm going to keep doing that. It would be good to give it a sort of ranged attack option as well. The final form is called the werewolf. You don't see this in the new films. You do kind of, but not really. But in the old films, he does become a werewolf. So with this power, he can howl by pressing the active ability button. That causes survivors within your terror radius to scream and reveal their location for a few seconds. I thought about making the werewolf the mobile killer, but I wanted to get the spider in there because it's a big part of its lore. So the werewolf is a nice little compromise at the end, I think. So if you look at these powers, there's a lot of detection, there's some speed, there's some range, you've got a few different aspects to it. It would be really, I think, quite hard to use. But if you got good at him, you could literally just swap to different situations, and the survivors would never be able to predict what you're doing. You've got slowdown, you've got detection. It's like, I think it would be quite cool. I think it would be really unique and quite terrifying to go against, and really quite hard to counter. Before I talk about the teachables, I got a couple of add-ons that I wanted to kind of run through. So the first one is called Georgie's Raincoat, which I hate. I was going to do Georgie's arm, but I was like, no, that's too bad. That is too bad. So Dancing Clown's balloons instantly down survivors when they pop, but you're permanently in that form. So basically, you can't use your power, but you've got a really powerful Pennywise power. You'd probably have a restriction on the number of balloons or something. I don't know how it would work. You'd have to make it similar to Trapper or weaker than Trapper, other than the insta-down kind of thing for it to work. I don't really know. That was just an idea I had to keep you locked in one form. And then you've got a Fairground Ticket, where switching forms grants you a large speed boost for a few seconds. So instead of just kind of switching forms, it takes a bit of time, and then there's a cooldown. You also get a large speed boost for a few seconds, encouraging you to switch and kind of do really quick transitions, which would be pretty sweet. I quite like that. I quite like visualizing how that would look. Kind of like the Wraith coming out of stealth, or the Spirit coming out of stealth, that kind of vibe. Let's go on to teachable perks. The first one is called We Aren't Strangers. This is another thing about the Georgie interaction at the start of the film. If you don't want to go and watch the whole film, just watch the first scene, man. It is, oh, it's brutal. It shocked, not scared me, it shocked me. I was not expecting it. It is horrible. And the whole idea behind this perk is that you build trust with your prey, and it's part of the fun. So basically, while chasing a survivor and not landing a hit, my idea is you're building trust. So give it 30 seconds, and then the survivor gains the hindered effect for 3 seconds, which is kind of them letting their guard down, and then you can obviously hit them. It's easier for you to land a hit. The perk can be used on each survivor once per trial. The idea behind that is once you've kind of hit them once, they're not going to trust you anymore. That's the kind of idea. And you have a 60-second cooldown to use it. So basically, it's really for when you're getting looped around and you're really struggling to hit the survivor. Then it gives you a little bit of a chance to go and land the hit a couple of times, 4 times maximum per trial, just so it's not, too overbearing. I thought that was quite cool, and it works with the character. The second teachable perk is called You Will Float Too. You crave the demise of your victims. You become obsessed with one survivor, and any survivor that creates a noise notification while the obsession is in the dying state gains the exposed effect for 45 seconds. I kind of pictured this as Pennywise when he's in his rage mode. If he hears another survivor, even though he's focused on the one person while he's fighting, if he hears a survivor behind him, kind of turns and then goes to kill them. It's kind of that kind of idea, and I figured that it could work quite well with Dark Devotion and stuff. It might be a bit strong, but I don't care. I think it's cool, and I think it fits with Pennywise. So there we go. Quite a simple perk. The third and final teachable perk is a Hex perk called Hex Fear. Your prey's growing fear enhances your abilities. So for each survivor that has been hooked, gain a 5% increase to any perk effect duration and 5% decrease to any perk effect cooldown. As you know how Hex works, don't need to read that out. So it's for every survivor that's been hooked, not for every hook. So maximum of 4 kind of stacks. So you get an increase to any perk's effect duration and a 5% decrease to any perk effect cooldown. Obviously that can be strong depending on the perk, especially some of the perks I made for this concept. So basically, it would have to be a Hex totem, because then they can break it and remove the effect. But I thought it was quite cool that as the fear builds, he gets stronger, he can do his abilities more frequently. Kind of similar to how it works in the film, not really, but it's you're trying to work with fear when you're making up these perks, and it this is what kind of sprung to mind. So yeah, and it's a bit different. I don't think there's many things that reduce perk cooldowns. Obviously, you don't bring this if you're not bringing a perk with a cooldown. It's again situational. I won't work every time. It's not really meta. I don't know. It's just an idea at the end of the day. But yeah, I think it's pretty sweet. Overall, I'm really happy with the way that this turned out. There are a few different ideas you could have done in terms of balloons, in terms of building up fear, tiers of fear and stuff like that, kind of like Michael Myers. Really cool ideas, but I wanted to lock on this shape-shifting thing and kind of give my best go at what this could look like. And I think it's fun. I think it sounds fun. The thing I want from you guys is, what other forms could he make? I know there's the painted lady and stuff. What would those forms look like? What would those different forms power be? I mean, for this concept, one of my other ideas was to have iridescent add-ons be additional forms, so you can transform to more things, but I went with a different direction. But yeah, let me know what forms the shapeshifter could take and what their powers could be. I think that's a really cool thing for you guys to comment down below. Before we talk about the map, I think we'll talk about the Morries. So my idea is that the Morrie would change depending on the form. I think that's pretty obvious based on, if you looked at my alien concept, I kind of like the idea of having different Morries based on the power. So yeah, I think that'll be a really cool idea. I don't know what they would be yet. The mummy one might be like suffocation with the embalming wrap. The werewolf would obviously be something bitey. The spider could be something web-based, and then Pennywise could be his evil teeth, or like his mantis claws. You know, there's a few different things you could do. I try and be quite vague with these because the Morries are some of the comments. I love reading the comments about the Morries, like what your ideas for the Morries would be. So I really try and keep these ideas pretty basic from my point of view. But yeah, give me ideas. If you guys are commenting on different forms, let me know what those Morries would be for those forms. It's just such a cool, like, this is why I love doing these videos, man. It's so cool and so fun to be creative and just think about what it could look like and just go completely off the wall crazy with it. Go Mortal Kombat fatality level with these Morries, please. I would love to read them. All right, here we go. Final part of the video. I hope you guys have enjoyed the concept so far. It means a lot to me when you guys watch all the way through. I know a lot of people don't, but if you guys got this far, thank you so much. I appreciate it. In terms of maps, there's like two really clear options to me, which is the fun house from It Chapter 2, or my personal choice, which is the sewer. So I think that the sewers, like Its Lair, would be really awesome. It's really atmospheric. It would work in Dead by Daylight really well, like really creepy music and stuff. And, you know, you could have a few different elements. You could have the floating bodies, you know, the pile of floating bodies. You could have a few drop downs through different tunnels in the sewer and things. I just think it's more flexible, and especially because the fun house, like, there's already like a circus map from the clown, and I don't want people to think as a clown. I don't want people to keep thinking that Pennywise is Pennywise is a clown. Keep thinking that it is a clown. It's not. It's a much bigger, much kind of scarier, more powerful thing than just a clown. So I wouldn't want to reinforce that belief. I'd want people to realize that it's more of a scary thing. So I think the sewer would be kind of creepier in that regard. So yeah, but yeah, that's it for the video. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I make content every single week, and I really hope you like the kind of stuff I'm putting out. If you have any more ideas for killers and stuff, as you know, put them down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.